Hello, everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Geek Girl. I'm Zoe, and as usual, I'm here with Lizzie.
Hello.
We're going to be talking once again about the Acolyte this week.
Yeah.
Wars Geek Girl. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.
Yippee.
Yippee, Star Wars! Alright, so what
Star
are your
Wars.
spoiler-free thoughts about Episode 7 choices?
It was a twist and a turn, and I
Twist and turn.
apologize to some characters.
Yeah,
I have to put my apology out there and spoiler free and then spoiler later.
yeah, it's interesting. The characters, I thought. I mean, here's the thing. So every no one is absolved and everyone's a little bit at fault, and that was, I think, what the beauty of the writing of this episode was, that it's so complicated and everybody is justified. Like, no one made a decision I thought was totally completely horrible for the most part. Like, everyone had their reasons. Like, someone say something and be like, oh yeah, you're right, and then someone else will say something and be like, well, you're making some points too.
Yeah.
Even if I, ultimately the outcome was really bad. Like, there's no one
Yeah.
was acting in bad faith, which I think is great writing, and what made it so interesting and was exactly what I was hoping to see from this episode. But yeah,
Mhm.
I owe some apologies to a few characters. The characters I thought would be the most at fault were the least.
Yeah.
The characters I thought would be the least at fault were most at fault.
I found
For the
myself
most
being
part.
like, I am
For
so
the most
sorry.
part. No, literally. Yeah, it was definitely, but it was like, it was unexpected, but it was never a point where because sometimes I think, the story does, something like this, and it, can feel unexpected to the point of like, I don't think this guy would do that, but it was like, oh, everyone's choices make sense for who they are and they fit their character, even when they're not great. So
Mhm.
very, very good. It was
Yeah.
also like, I don't know. I feel like everyone was like really stressed out about this. I'm trying to figure out how to word this because it's gonna sound really bad. Everyone's really stressed out about like this episode and like what was gonna be revealed. I don't want to say like it wasn't that bad, but like again, like no one was like, I hate these people, I'm killing everybody. For the most part, actually,
Yeah.
there's one person who's a little bit.
Wait, are we
Okay.
spoilers?
Yeah, we can do spoilers. Yeah,
Oh,
whatever.
okay, okay. I was like,
But yeah, okay.
uh
So everyone was like, "Oh, like I bet the Jedi did something really horrible," and like they kind of did. Soul kind of did, but it was all like like I said, I think I said this before. Like they weren't coming in guns blazing. Like it was truly like they didn't want to hurt anyone. No one wanted to hurt anyone except Mother Coral.
Yeah, Coral is definitely at fault.
Um,
I was like so frustrated. I was like,
she was
"Stop!
the one.
Just listen,
She was like,
listen."
oh gosh, hold on, I just knocked my AirPod out. No, she was, so everyone
It's too loud.
I felt like was very justified. Um, and except for her. I understood. I understood her position. I understood this character. But I was like, girl, shut up and let the real grown-ups talk. Like,
Yeah, it
truly.
was. That was pretty bad.
um,
It was just like it was. No, I was like screaming. I was like, "Just listen to your wife. Your wife is
no,
so good.
literally.
It's so
No.
smart."
How different this episode would have been if everyone just listened to Anastasia and Indara and just let them talk?
Mhm.
Like, you know how great everything would have turned out if Indara and Anastasia were like, screw all these people, let's sit down, have some tea, and talk this out. Like,
Yeah,
everything could have been fixed. Like,
yeah. Also, I was. I guess I
and I need to issue my formal apology to Master Indara. I am so
yes.
sorry. I will never doubt you again, Carrie Ann Moss. I am so sorry. Um,
For real
Genuinely.
though. Like,
I really thought, you know, and you know what? Not to get on my horse here, but this is where I'm like, the Jedi, they're always kind of proven right on their philosophy. Like, they're like, don't let your attachments cloud your judgment. And you know what? I did that. I wasn't attached to Master Indara. She died in 2 minutes. I didn't care about her. I cared about Soul. And look how that clouded my judgment. I thought Soul was going to be the one who didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Andara was the worst. It's
This-
because of my attachments, clouding my judgment. So very sorry to Master Andara. I would also like to issue an apology to Master Kalnaka. Literally free my boy Kalnaka. He literally did nothing wrong. He's just there. Like,
What?
free my boy.
Free?
Just metaphorically.
Oh, I was like, what happened? What did I
Free
miss?
my boy Kalnaka. Metaphorically. No, I literally thought from, episode 3, episode 1 and 2, I was like, oh, and Dara and Kanaka, they probably messed up, and then poor Sol and Torben were pulled along, but it was very much, like I said, no one's blameless, but like it was very much more on Sol and Torben out of the Jedi.
Yeah. It was I didn't like how creepy Soul was. Am I the only one that thought he was kind of creepy?
I don't
Like,
think he was creepy. I felt like he was well intentioned, but I think he just got very intense.
it's giving it like he's not white, but it was giving white savior, and I was like,
Oh
just
yeah.
like you don't even know. Like, and
Mhm.
Nara was literally speaking my mind. It was like, you don't know these cultures. Like, we don't know what's going on.
Right.
Like, this could be totally be just something that they do. Like, ascension could be totally just a normal little thing. Which, to be
Yeah.
fair, we didn't know, but that's not our business. And this guy was
Mhm.
like all up in their business.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And it was also, it's so interesting, because he, was there maybe a genuine Force connection to Osha? Because we know that's the thing that happens, like that happens with Kanan and Ezra. Was it, he was, like we saw Indara kind of ripping him for a little bit about not having a Padawan, and which seemed, he didn't seem like offended by that. Like that seemed like it was in good fun, but it was like, does he have a desire for a Padawan that he doesn't have, and is he just kind of, I don't think he was conscious of it, but he was very much, I think, projecting some of his desire for that onto Osha here. But then at the same time, it's also like, like Osha, like we saw in episode 3, we saw it again today, like Osha was doodling Jedi symbols before she knew what they were. Like, it's like Osha feels a call to the Jedi, at the same time. So it's like,
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I also was like, when they did May, like when they tested her, it was just like, okay, do the thing. Well, we know you're lying. All right, go ahead.
well,
But with
I know what I
Osha,
did. I really loved about that scene was they knew, and they were
yeah,
like, but May was clearly not interested in being a Jedi. She clearly had no desire in it, and I think that's why with Osha they were a little bit more like, we can see she wants this, or Soul
yeah.
was.
But also, I was like, I didn't like. Even then, I didn't like how Soul was like trying to get this kid
He
to like
he like
really
coached her a
do
little
it.
bit, yeah,
And
and
Adora mentioned it. I was like, I know it. This is
yeah.
not fair.
And it's so interesting too because Indara, I mean, not that we see the council, but like she's relaying their messages. Like Indara and the Jedi Council are like, so like, listen, like they're allowed to have their beliefs. They have different cultures. They can do their own thing. We got to leave them alone. Which is so interesting because the way, obviously we didn't have the whole picture, but it's framed very much in episode 3 that, Indara is the one that comes up and she's like, we have a right to test the kids. And then we find out here it's like she didn't she didn't want to do that. She was kind of, she thought Soul came up with the idea to give her more time to talk to the council so they could figure out the best course of action. She's like, she had no intention of taking these kids. And, so it's really interesting. It reframes that in particular, which is not something I expected to be reframed. So it's so, and I really loved, oh my gosh, I loved Indara. Like, truly, I'm so sorry, Master Indara. I was not familiar with your game.
Yeah. I also
Like, I loved her
you
interactions with May. Like when they're sitting and she's just like asking May about her culture, and she's like, "Oh, your face mark is really pretty," and it was this very, very sweet reaction, treating her like a child, and just talking to her and trying to learn a little bit about the culture through her, and just very understanding. And I really enjoyed her interactions with May there for sure.
see. Well, also May was talking a little too much. So got them worried a little. Well,
Yeah,
mostly Soul. It's just like
Yeah, even though like it was worrying when she says that, but Andara's also like, it's really not our business. Like she's like Andara's like that doesn't sound great, but like it's not, But then also it's like, for Soul's faults here, and for I think, the fact that he, let his emotions and his attachments and desires get the best of him here. He has, he is concerned. He didn't see the greatest aspects of the children's lives here. And with the picture he had, he's like, like he says at one point, he's like, who's protecting these children if not the Jedi? And I do think that's, fair, from what he knows. I don't think he went about it the best way, but he had the best intentions of like, if they're hurting these children, who's going to protect them? There's no one else on this planet. You know what I mean? And it's like that was the thing about this episode. It's like no one's right, no one's wrong.
yeah.
Everyone means well.
I still
And
think Soul should just have stop.
Oh no, Soul was
stop.
Soul. Yeah,
Cease.
Soul should have stopped.
Stop preying on
also,
these little kids. They're little. You saw them in the forest for 5 seconds, and you're like, they're in danger, bro.
To be fair,
they're in danger.
Yeah.
They were chilling.
Yeah. It was yeah, he wasn't great. Also, I love Torben.
I did not.
No, but I mean, in the beginning of the episode, he's so like grumpy teenager. Oh my gosh, I keep knocking my AirPods out. He's so grumpy teenager on the camping trip. He's just like, I want to go home. This is boring. I want a fun mission. This is so boring. I want to go to Coruscant. And very Oh, you haven't read Into the Dark, have you? No, he's very like, so in Into the Dark is a High Republic book. There's a Padawan named Wreath. He's a little guy. But he like he's sent on these missions and he's like, I hate this. Like it's a fun mission, but he's like, I hate this. I want to go home and read. This sucks. And that was what Torben was giving. It was so funny. But he's homesick kid, and yeah, but then it was really creepy when Mother Anastasia was in his head though. That was I really liked the jump cuts there. That was I'm generally not a jump cut person always for like film and TV, but it worked really, really well there, I think, to create this like very unnerving, chaotic sense of what's going on in his head, and that I really appreciated. But yeah, that was Mother Anastasia was a little creepy there. Not gonna lie.
I think she's still cool.
Oh no, she's still cool. She was just
so
a little crazy. Okay, well. But it was also interesting, right? Because it's clearly a very harrowing experience, and I think all of his decisions of how really come from how shaken up he was, and if maybe any of that magic was still left in there, because that was like he goes from sitting there complaining about Kelnaka's cooking, which poor Kelnaka, man.
Yeah.
Make everyone a nice little dinner. Literally free my boy Kelnaka.
Even if it's legs all the time, at least it's good legs all the time.
Right. Listen. Everyone's hating on Kelnaka. He's just a little big guy. A little 7 foot tall little dude.
People are hating on Kelnaka.
Oh no, I meant in the show, not on.
Oh, it's like nah, he's still just doing his thing, and then he kind of gets possessed. And
he's just kind of there, and he's great. I love Kelnaka.
Which I'm confused. Like, did they die? Like, Indara killed them somehow by severing the connection?
Yeah, we're jumping over. Yeah, I thought they were knocked unconscious, but then obviously like the cave falls on them, so they do kind of die.
Well, I'm not saying like that's her fault, but I was like curious, like they just die or something?
Yeah, like, and then I was like, oh, they're unconscious, and then I get online, everyone's like, Indara killed 50 people, and I was like, I guess technically the rocks fell on them, but I thought, like, that's crazy. That's crazy, and I was also like, I don't think, even if she did, whether they're unconscious or dead, I really don't think. I'm not. Listen, this is my apology towards Indara. I really don't blame her for it, because like I don't think she was like, I'm gonna get in and kill people. Like that, we had no indication that was something she had any desire to do at any point. Like I think she was like, I just got to get these people out of Kilnaka's head. Like he's gonna kill all of us if I don't do this. And it was just maybe like whatever dark magic-y spell, like severing that connection suddenly did something to them. That's my assumption on it. I guess.
I mean, that's what I think is like. I thought it just like killed him because she kind of just like slaps him into reality. Maybe she slapped them, like force
Force slap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we know that like great like feats with the Force are incredibly draining to the point where they could knock you unconscious or kill you, like we see with like Luke in The Last Jedi. I think is the closest we have to that here. And it was like, I mean, Bryaga must have been fortified. There's like 30 of them, like just to get in his brain.
Yeah.
And so it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe like, because when we see like when Mother Coral, I don't know if Mother Coral was part of the possession of Bryaga, because we actually don't see her after she dissipates.
Yeah, I was
like no body or anything. I don't trust that she. I don't know. I don't trust that she's dead. And I wonder if like that's why Kimir knows so much, because like some relation to her. I don't know. But so like I wonder if like when they're like possessing Bryaga like that, if they're not like physically in their body, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when Endara forces them out of Kelnaka's mind, if they don't return to their bodies, like if they...
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know. I love weird Force stuff. It's very fun. But also I don't know what's going
because Soul got so scared that like the mom just like kind of like started. I think she was gonna go save Osha, but also May was also disappearing. So I'm not sure what she was trying to do there. But I thought she was like May was like Osha's in trouble.
Yeah, well, I wonder if it was like because she could tell like Coral was not helping and was gonna escalate to a fight with, if not Soul, at least Torben. So Anasea is like, what if I teleport me and May out of here to go get Osha?
Mm-hmm.
And then that was what she was doing, perhaps. But it is also like, I don't know, this is the thing. Soul, objectively in hindsight, made the wrong choice there. But also, she was turning into a very scary smoke monster. So I do get it. I'm not saying...
I also think it was because he saw May
disappearing too.
Disappearing?
Yeah. But it's like... I was
worried about that.
I don't know. Like, listen, and that's, part of why it's so important for Jedi to control their fear and things like that, and why they work on that. But it's like, if I had a lightsaber and this lady was turning into a scary smoke monster after I knew she had the power to, like, possess people, like she possessed my friend a little bit ago the other day, like, I can't say I wouldn't have taken a swing. Like, objectively wrong choice, and I'm sure it haunts Soul for the rest of his days, and it should. But, people are like, oh, he's a cold-blooded murderer. I'm like, oh.
I think he's not a great Jedi.
Not great, no. Well, and
I think in that moment, to work on.
He has things to work on, and you know what though? In that moment, he was very much in this whole episode. He was not a good Jedi. He was not upholding Jedi teachings. He was defying what all the other Jedi were saying to do.
Yeah.
Except for Torben, but Torben's a Padawan. Soul should know better. But like we do know what he has today, and a big part of being a Jedi is reflecting and meditating on the past and growing. Jedi aren't like, you messed up, so now you go to jail forever. That's not like the Jedi thing. We see a lot of people. I didn't come up with this, but a lot of people drew a connection between what Soul did here, specifically with Anasea, not everything else. What Elzar Mann did in the Fallen Star. with Chancey Yarrow. So he basically is a woman who is helping to save the day, but it's a quick, brash decision. Tons of Jedi are dropping dead because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in that book. And Elzar Mann makes a quick decision to kill her. And it turns out she was not the terrorist that he thought she was. She was helping. And Elzar is open about this with the council, and they, are like, well, that's not good. And they kind of help him with dealing with that and stuff like that. So it's, it's not, like, I don't know. Soul messed up really bad. I don't think it's like, oh, you're a bad Jedi forever now that he did that.
Yeah.
But it's like also, it's so complicated because it's like he did want to take accountability. And then Indara was like, you can't do that.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you think? Like, my whole thing was like, oh, just go to the council. You messed up. But then I also was like, Indara was right. Like, she, like, just like I was saying before, where, like, Osha just, like, kind of left the Jedi. And, like, I would feel horrible about doing that. Like, my whole family just died over this thing that I wanted, and I'm not even going to stick with it. And that's how I felt with Indara's thing. I was like, this is all she wanted. This is your fault. You wanted this. You wanted this kid so badly. You're going to take care of this kid.
Yeah. Well, and I also think for Indara, it wasn't as much as like, I don't know, because here's the thing. Like, we know the Jedi Council said, leave these kids alone. They already have their own culture. It's similar to Anakin. They're a little old. They've already formed attachments. We don't want to separate from that. It wouldn't be right. They probably would be very difficult to train them as a Jedi at this point.
Yes.
So we know that was where the council was, but I can't imagine like if they came and explained everything that the Jedi would be like, well, screw this kid, drop him off on the street. Like even if the council trained to be a Jedi, they would, we know that like when people fail trials or don't want to be a Jedi anymore, the council's still like, okay, like, but we have a place for you in the council or in the temple if you want to help out in the temple. So like, we're not throwing you out.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine the Jedi being like, screw you, 8-year-old, to Coruscant you go. You know what I mean?
That's the other thing.
But
is like
I don't
she
think
would have such a bad view of the Jedi from that.
Right. No, and that's the other thing. But also I think the biggest thing that was Indara's point was I don't think the council would have let Soul train her. If they did let her train as a Jedi, that's because she'd really want that. I could see the Jedi being like, all right, we'll give it a shot. They did with Anakin when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan insisted on it, right? But like if they're like, okay, we'll let you train, like if they knew what happened, I don't think they would have let Soul train her. Because of Soul being clouded by his attachments, all this baggage he's bringing to the relationship, I don't think they would have done that. And I think Indara's point is like, look, this girl knows you. She needs someone. Familiar, at least somewhat familiar now. She's lost every single person she ever knew up to this point. You are the bridge to her new life. You're the one that should be training her. And that was why. I think, and it's, and that was, again, I think Indara had a compassionate voice. Was that the right choice in the long term? I don't know. Like, could maybe Osha have benefited from a Jedi Master not bringing all that baggage and personal connections and lies to the table? Could she have benefited from someone a little bit more impartial to her, maybe? I mean, here's the thing, and this is going to make you happy, possibly. I was thinking about Rise of the Red Blade when Indara said that. Well, because we know one of the biggest failings of the Jedi in that book, and I think ultimately one of the things that hurt Iskat the most was that they let her master choose a Padawan, not because she felt a connection to Iskat, not because she liked Iskat, not because she even wanted a Padawan, but because she felt a personal guilt and obligation because of their past with Iskat's mother. And, I think that was the biggest nail in the coffin as far as the Jedi choices and just everything that happened to Iskat in the book. I think that was the biggest mistake the Jedi made with her. And, and it's like, obviously Soul doesn't have, like Soul did have, or at least believed he had a connection to her. He did want her and choose her, and he wanted a Padawan, so it's not quite the same as Semper Bay. But it's like, in both those cases, you're bringing that personal baggage and the guilt and the history there, and it's going to alter the relationship. Maybe, that allows me closer, but maybe it's going to color the way that you train. You're going to be more attached, less impartial. With this case specifically, we have lots of lies. Where it was with, I guess December is less lying and more hiding the past. Where it was with this, it was a straight up lying. But so it's, was Indara's call the right one in the end? No. But do I 100% understand where she's coming from in that moment? Yes. So
pretty much.
I am an Indara stan.
Yeah.
I turned around real quick.
I'm reviewing my soul aura points right now.
The Soul Patrol membership card.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm there to rip it, but I'm like just staring at it right now. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
So
I still love Soul. I still think
I'm still taping up the Indara membership card, okay?
Yeah. No, so many apologies to Indara. And so, like, I still, like, I don't think Soul is a bad person. I don't think he's a bad Jedi. I think he made a lot of mistakes, and I think the only path forward now is rectifying them, which he wants to do. He told May last episode, I'm going to go to the council. I need to face consequences for what I did. I need to tell the truth. We'll see how that plays out in the finale next week. I have a feeling it's not going to be great, and not in the sense of like the council being mean, more in the like, does he even make it to the council? Is more my worry at this point.
Does Bro even make it to the council?
That's the question. But yeah. Also, can I say the Kelnaka Torben Soul fight and when Indara jumps in, fantastic.
Scary.
It was scary.
Scary.
It's so good.
I think scary.
I think the oh shit faces that Soul and Torben have when Kelnaka is the one that's possessed.
I was also like oh shit.
Yeah, dude. I don't want to fight.
They were like, you didn't fortify your mind. He's like, I did fortify my mind. They were like, not him. And at first I thought it was gonna be Soul, and then it was Kelnaka, and I was like, oh no.
I don't want to fight a regular Jedi. I don't want to fight a regular Wookiee. I definitely don't want to fight a Wookiee Jedi possessed by like 30 like dark side witches. No thanks.
I love witches. They're so cool.
But it also like, I think this also gives like so much context into where these four characters were when we met them. Indara, she, clearly weighs on her mind, I think, like based on some of her dialogue with May. But she's also, she knows that she did the best she could, and she's like, you know what, like I've done all I can. I was trying my best, and she, she's hanging out in the cantina with some little dudes getting some noodles. And then we have Torben, who let his fear and recklessness get the better of him and really kind of jump-started everything. Like, he's the one that's so beat up about it, he's taken the Barash vow. And then Kelnaka, once again, my boy is innocent, okay? Free Kelnaka. But he had these witches in his head, and they made him hurt his friends. He hurt a little Padawan, and he tried to kill Soul, and it took Indara to get that out. And also, like, I don't know, man, I got one person in my head, and it's a lot sometimes. You got like 30 witches in there telling you to kill people.
Yeah,
that sucks. And so like, it's like, that makes sense why he's, like exiled himself, and he's studying these runes that the witches have to like, learn about that. Or also, and I don't think this is canon anymore, but I saw some people bringing it up, which I thought was pretty cool, which is that in Legends, Wookiees thought it was dishonorable to use your claws on someone. And if a Wookiee used their claws against another person or any living being, they were called a mad claw and were exiled.
Dang.
And so, for Kelnaka, because we know that Jedi, often retain some connections to their, their birth cultures. Maybe not their birth families, but their cultures. Like Ayla has her native Twi'lek accent. Luminara, Barris, Vernestra all have Mirallen cultural tattoos. Ahsoka wears the cool teeth. So like we know that there are some connections. Even like I guess the best example is the other Wookiee. He uses, a wooden saber
Ooh,
because
ooh,
it
I have
connects him to
I have an
Kashyyyk.
example.
Oh, okay, what's an example?
Tualin, and he gets his teeth sharpened.
He does. He does get his teeth sharpened. Yes, great
Yes.
example.
Yeah.
But we see that kind of stuff all the time, where like Jedi are encouraged to incorporate parts of their other culture into their life. So it's like if that is still canon, for the Wookiees, it's like that could definitely play a part in Kalnaka feeling so terrible about it. It's not your fault, Kalnaka. Free my boy from mental torment.
He needs a little bit of therapy.
Oh, I just I want to hang out with Kalnaka.
His
Like
cooking was
I love
insulted.
I
No one
loved
really talked to this man.
I know. I loved like the vibes of the beginning of this episode. You got Kalnaka making dinner, and Dara and Sol playing around with each other. You got Torben pouting and being a teenager and being like, I want to go home, I'm bored. And they're just like hanging out on this planet. They're putting moss in boxes. So it's like they're doing like a little science project. It's like in science class when you go out and you like do like an ecosystem like study in like middle school. Like
Yes. We went to the
I love the
swamps.
vibes. This is like, man, like there are parts like I love the whole mystery of the show, and that's great. There are parts of this show that make me long for just more like silly little Jedi adventures, because Jedi are just silly little guys who like collect plants and stuff, and I love them.
Science.
Yeah, it's so silly. Also, hyperspace disaster reference in the show. Because they talked about how the planet was considered devoid of all life because it got damaged in hyperspace disaster, which from Light of the Jedi. And now there's plants, and they're like, well, where'd the plants come from? This is the virgins in the Force. We should figure this out. And then it is probably witches, which is cool.
Witches.
But yeah, but it is really interesting to me how like this whole show, everyone's been like, the whole Jedi, they all suck. They're the worst. Sol is the only good one in this show. And then it's like, no, actually, all the other Jedi were right. And Sol is the one
sucks.
not following the Jedi teachings. And, because, like, because everyone's always like, oh, I bet the Jedi just hated the Brendok witches because the Jedi think they're the only ones with the Force. And the Jedi Council and Andara are like, listen, these people want to use the Force, leave them alone. They can do what they want.
I will say they're right kind of about Sol, but just a Sol.
Yeah, but like in this, like just Sol, and Sol's the one
Literally.
that's like, well, I don't like it.
But those are our younglings.
Yeah, and it was so interesting. Like Anastaea's last words to Sol were like, she said, "I was gonna let Osha go," which was the right choice. I think here's the thing, right? Is like this is when again I'm like Anastaea and Adar should kind of talk this out, and then everybody else had to accept it. Because I think even though Anastasia wanted to let him go, Coral, I think, would have started throwing hands either way. When Anastasia let Osha go. So
yeah, I was so no, like he stabbed her, and I was like, you didn't even like hear her out. You have this other girl who's the one that's like being toxic and mean. This one was trying to say, hey, no, let's not fight.
Yeah.
Let's chill out.
And again, creepy
No
smoke monster, but yeah. No, they should have listened.
I looked at her and I was like, that's a beautiful creature right there. Who is that?
Also, but I did love how like Sol immediately regretted it. Like he would like I love the scene where Coral is swinging at him and he's blocking her, but he's not drawing a weapon. He's not making a single strike, and she's like yelling at him, "Fight me!" And he's very broken up by what he just did, which is a very good scene.
I don't like how Coral like didn't seem to feel empathy. She just wanted this fight. I don't know. Like there was
Yeah.
something there that was like she didn't like. Obviously, she probably was heartbroken about it, but she was
Hmm.
definitely more into just fighting. And I was like, girl,
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, like, this whole coven clearly uses the dark side in some form, which we know is never a great path to be on, no matter who you are. But Coral especially seemed to, represent the parts of the dark side we know, like when you get further down, the inevitable parts where it's, anger and fear, and that's all, and attachment, selfishness, like that's all you kind of become. And that was Coral here, compared to Anastasia, who touched the dark side, used dark side things, but she was still a little bit more in control of herself, and was not as selfish and angry. It's interesting, but it was really interesting too, of like her line of, the noble intentions are what's going to end all the Jedi. Like she ate that one little thing, a little bit. Because it's interesting, because it's, really, people are interpreting that line a whole bunch of different ways. And I think it's an endless interpretation. I think ultimately, I think we talked about this before with this show, like the Jedi are always trying their best, and unfortunately when they get put between a rock and a hard place and they're given no good options, like when the Clone Wars starts, and it's either compromise yourself and fight or stay out of it and let people die, and the Jedi are put in that possible situation, like, they're that's always going to hurt them. But also it's like, in a way, like, I think when George Lucas has talked about Phantom Menace, he always said if the Jedi had found Anakin sooner, they could have taught him how to love without attachment, which is ultimately his undoing. And it was Qui-Gon insisting against everybody else that he was going to train Anakin. And it's, and he was taking his boy no matter what, manipulating the chance cube, things like that. It's very, I think Soul objectively way worse here. Qui-Gon
yeah.
way better, way better.
Qui
But
Gon
like
didn't
it's
kill anyone for it.
the broad strokes are there a little bit, and Qui-Gon's the one who kind of opens Anakin to the pressure of the prophecy and things like that, and it's interesting, you know. Like I'm always team that it was the genocide. I'm never gonna blame the Jedi for their own genocide. It is not their fault. But what it is like, when the Jedi are always trying their best, unfortunately, that means, things go down poorly sometimes when you're set up with impossible choices. Also,
Yeah.
um, I I already loved Osha. I already love May, but oh my gosh, I felt so bad for May here, because we get
Yeah.
a very different
Okay.
view. Because with the first episode, in episode 3, it seems like May very purposefully starts the fire, and here we see it's almost like she
She just
had
wanted
a
to burn the
moment.
paper.
Well, that too, but I think you kind of looking around, like I think she had a moment of like, I could stop Osha from leaving forever by setting this fire. And then she actually does it, and she's immediately like, oh no, oh no, oh no, this is
Yeah.
not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted. And and it reminded me so much of Luke in the flashbacks in The Last Jedi, right? He senses the darkness and the everything that Ben Solo is going to do, and he ignites his lightsaber, and it's just a second, and he realizes how terrible it is, but the damage is done. Um, and it's and that's why it's like in Star Wars, like it's always like everyone Jedi or not says like who's on the light side. They always say like it's a constant battle. Like you don't defeat the dark side once. Like you always have to keep yourself in check, because it takes one moment to ruin everything. And it's not easy. I don't think the
Hmm.
Jedi ever claimed that. But it's how, unfortunately, the world works. One emotional reaction can change a relationship, can change a future. And it was, yeah, poor May. Um,
Yeah. Um I think that it would have been things would have been way different if she just said like the simple line of like she said, "Mom's dead." I would have said, "Soul killed mom."
Yeah, does May know his
Would Osha would have believed her? I don't think so, but it would be a question for later.
Mm-hmm. I
That
don't know
would
if May knows his name.
she could have said they killed him. They killed her.
That's true.
Like anything. I would have I don't know. That's
I
something
don't
that
know.
I was like,
Listen,
"What girl?"
she's like 8.
Yeah, I know, but I was like, I would blame people. I'm 8 years old. I'm gonna blame someone. Someone killed my
Yeah.
mom.
I
I don't
also
know. That
like.
was
I
just
mean, they
me.
didn't get the chance to have their whole conversation. Like I could see,
Yeah.
because 8-year-olds can be very mean and cutting, and they like to say, and this is not just 8-year-olds, lots of people, but children especially. I think sometimes
Twitter.
when they're very, when they're very angry, they just want to say something that's going to cut you in the way that's going to cut you most. So I think had they been able to have their full conversation and the bridges didn't collapse, I
Yeah.
think it would have been a like, mom is dead and it's your fault, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then Soul was holding them both up, and he couldn't do it, and
Yeah.
he made a choice. Um,
I
it's
I also thought it was interesting. It seemed like he was trying to figure out which one was Osha.
oh, I didn't read it that way. I just thought he was like panicking, like,
I
oh
mean,
my god, what
like
do I
I
do?
think he was totally panicking still,
Yeah.
but like he was also like looking and looking and looking, and he was like,
Ah,
I felt like
I didn't
maybe
think of that. You could be right.
I only say that because he was so obsessed with Osha. Not like
Yeah,
that, but
well,
like
but
he was
then
just so
he
obsessed
was
with getting like having this Padawan and protecting this one child
right.
that
Well, and
like
like
I think
he
like I totally if he could, he definitely would have saved both.
oh,
But
absolutely.
you
And then
know,
yeah, well, it's also because he has this strong. He keeps saying he feels this force connection to Osha. He thinks that the force is calling them together. She's meant to be his Padawan, and then May runs out, and he's like, "Oh, Osha,"
yeah.
you know. Like give him a pass for not realizing the switch in the present day because he just had all of his friends get murdered. Oh.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was like, dude, you can't be like, look, Endora, I just feel this force connection. The force is calling us together, and then not
No, poo poo. That's crazy.
um, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
I think Mother like I'm trying to think. I think Mother was gonna go to Osha.
yeah, I think that's what it was. I think because May runs out because Osha's in trouble, and Anastasia's like, "Oh, me and May, I'm gonna get May out of here because Coral's about to mess something up, and we're gonna go help Osha."
Mm-hmm.
And
Didn't really
didn't
happen.
work out.
No.
Yeah, well, and I think what's so fascinating too, it's like, like I said, forced connections between people meant to be master and Padawan happen. It happened to Kanan and Ezra, right? So very well could Soul have been feeling that? I mean, like again, like Osha was drawing Jedi symbols before she knew what a Jedi was.
Right.
Like she was feeling something too. So it's like, I think it's interesting that the first episode's called Destiny, and then this one is Choices. And it's like maybe it was the will of the Force that Osha was going to be Soul's Padawan, and it was, her destiny to be a Jedi. Anastasia says maybe it's her destiny to be a Jedi, and it's like it was going to work out. Like Anastasia was going to let her go. Was Coral going to? Probably not. But things probably wouldn't have ended quite as poorly if Anastasia had lived. And it's like, but it was because of the choices Soul made and deciding to interfere to get what he wanted that it threw the Force off balance, and that was no longer the destiny, right? It's all very interesting.
That's why you gotta just let things be, broski.
Right.
Go
Well,
with
that's
the
what Indara
flow.
was like. Listen, I'm so like, I feel like I really got to make it up to Indara, but the whole
Gotta make
time
her
she's so
cookies.
like, I know, no, I feel so bad, and so she's like, let it go, like it's not. our place, like,
It's not that deep,
and,
bro.
you know, like the Jedi Council's like, it's not your place. Like the Jedi, like they talked to them once, and the Jedi Council's like, you've done too much. Leave these people alone. Like, I think
Yeah.
like Indara literally says the Jedi Council said we interfered too much. Like the Council's literally like, leave these people alone. You already done enough. And they're
But like they're so right.
no, literally.
Right.
And it was like, and even like Torben also like, it was so like he literally just wants to go. Like Torben wasn't even like on the soul train of like, we gotta rescue these kids. He's just like, these kids are evidence. Evidence means I go home. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it was so selfish. It's like,
Mhm.
dude, Torben. And but then also Indara is like, Soul, you need to stop him because he's getting on the bike and he's just like, yeah, I got it. And then makes things worse.
Yeah.
It's like, this is why always listen to Carrie Ann Moss. That's the reference. That's the lesson here. And Joni Turner Smith.
Who?
Jodie Turner Smith, the actress for Anastasia.
Oh, okay. I was like, you got me at the first one. The second one I couldn't figure out.
No, that's. Hey, you know what's cool? Both the people who were the most right in this episode had 3 names: Jodie Turner Smith, Carrie Ann Moss. Always listen to
All
someone with 3
women.
names. Listen to ladies with 3 names, man.
What do I have? I have 4. Dang, don't listen to me.
Too many. I only have 2. I guess I have a middle name. I guess I have 3.
That works.
I'll listen to me.
That's a yeah. Everyone listen
Yeah,
to Zoe.
Carrie Ann. Because is Ann her middle name or is her name Carrie hyphen Ann? Because sometimes you get that where someone's name is like 2 names, the hyphen is their first name, and then they have a middle name and a last name. And it's like, but then is that 1 name
here.
or 2 names for their first name? I don't know. Names are cool. There's a lot of ways to do them. I'm trying to think of other things about this episode. There's so much. There's like so much.
There's just like it's just a lot.
Watch your attachments. Watch your emotions. Leave people alone if they want to be left
kids
alone. So yeah, we'll see next week. You know, because I wonder what Soul is gonna say to Osha or to May. You know,
especially because May kind of knows what happened.
No, May saw him stab Anastasia. Like May not know all of Soul's intentions and everything that was going on, but
or that
she
Soul might
saw,
feel bad. But
right, but she saw that happen. But I wonder if Soul maybe will not be able to make May feel better about him, but if he'll be able to make May feel better about the Jedi, maybe, I don't know. But it's like, if he's like, look, May, you're blaming all the Jedi for what I did. The Jedi actually told me to not do it. so
I'm the
get a little
fool
hard on
here.
them. Like I wonder. I mean, you know, I don't think May is going to be a Jedi. I mean, that'd be cool. I would love to see that arc for her. I don't know if that's her path. But I wonder, like, what these revelations are going to do for her. Because, like you said, it seems like she kind of knows compared to Osha.
Yeah,
she knew what's up. Versus Osha. This again, like, how does Kamir know this? What does he know? How does he know it? Is it Mother Coral? I bet it's Mother Coral.
I think it's yes. It has to be. Like we didn't see her body, so she's definitely still alive somewhere.
Right. Well, it's like because I think the previous theory about how he would know about Brendock was like maybe he was a Padawan of Soul, but then we know at this point Soul did not have a Padawan up to this point, and then he took on Osha. Yeah. So doesn't really have time for Kamir. It's like we didn't see Mother Coral's body. She disappeared in smoke, and that's it.
I think it's so cool they could disappear.
I know. It reminded me so much of the Night Sisters. Also, Night Sisters reference in this episode.
Yeah.
amazing. But also, I don't know if the Night Sisters changed over 100 years, or if Torben just has some bad info. But he's like, the Night Sisters don't raise younglings. They do. There
Well,
are there are baby Night Sisters, like Mary.
yeah, but
Mary was a
Soul
baby.
saw them force training. So I wonder if he means like force training? Maybe, I
I
don't know.
guess, but I don't know if the force training was. I don't know. That wasn't really this issue. I think it was
Because
more
I
the.
feel like that's something that they're like, that's a youngling. Because, like, I guess technically, I don't
Yeah,
know. That's the only thing I could think of.
I don't know. Very interesting. This AirPod will not connect to my laptop. Go the other one down. There we go. Yeah, I'm trying to think of. Oh my god, it was a great episode. I was very like in it the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, it was like what I wanted from this conflict. Like I did not want the episode to be like, and here's how the Jedi were wrong, or to be like, and here's how the Coven were wrong. Like this is what I wanted. I wanted it to be complex and layered, and everybody means well,
And
but
messy.
most people are not thinking clearly or making the right choices. And but yeah, I'm trying to think what else I have to say. I think that's about it. Very great episode. Love a good yellow lightsaber. We need more of those. Um, Once again,
What the
my
heck, Soul?
sincerest, yeah, what the heck, soul. My
Messed
sincerest
everything up.
apologies to Master and Dara. Hashtag free Kelnaka. Uh, Torben, come on, man.
Yeah. Very
Like
not Jedi
it's like,
like of
hey,
you, dude.
you're a Padawan. You know, you have. I do wonder also if it was like because it was a huge jump for him to just go from pouting to like I'm gonna go and find these kids so I can go home and like racing off like into the thing when at first like he was like he didn't want to be there at all. Like I do think that was maybe not like Mother and Say was still in his head doing that, but I think there was like I don't know. I feel like there's some like residual creepy magic left in there that was definitely clouding his judgment. Not that it's still not his fault. Definitely is his fault. Um, but yeah,
It's interesting that he was like I guess I understand, but like he was so hurt by it for so long. Like
the oh the yeah. Well, it was like besides Soul, like of the Jedi, it was his fault. You know, and I'm sure like you know we're always so much harder. Not everyone, most people, a lot of people are always so much harder on themselves than they are others. You know, so for
yeah.
Torben, he might absolve Soul a little bit more than we do. Like in Torben's mind, he's like, maybe Soul wouldn't have gone in there if I hadn't raced off on my speeder bike. Like maybe this is truly all just on me, you know? And
Yeah.
you know, maybe he hears about like oh Kalnaka is kind of like, you know, kind of self-exiling a little bit. And he's like, oh my gosh, Kalnaka feels bad because he was forced to hurt me. It was my, you know, and it's like he kind of crushes himself under it. And like we already see in this episode, he feels really guilty. Like he's talking to Indara. Um, you know, he feels really bad,
I
and
just
you know,
it's
and he doesn't.
also
You know, I think also like, the thing is like he probably was looking for the closure that comes with consequences. Like I think he was like, you know, just like Sully's like we have to go to the council, we have to tell them, and then I'm going to, you know, face the consequences of it. And because he didn't, and because he didn't have the guidance of the council, because he has to keep this secret for the sake of OSHA, it's you know it's crushing. But it's also like I can't tell anyone; it will destroy OSHA if I let this
yeah,
truth out too. So it's like you know it's so crushing and
messy.
very messy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else.
But so we have a lot to do in this finale. We got whatever's going on with Soul of May, whatever's going on with Kamir and
Is this the
Osha.
last one?
Yeah, the next one's the last one.
Oh, jeez.
We got Vernestra. She's up to something there too. Who knows what's going on next week? I'm really excited to see how this kind of wraps up and comes to a nice little conclusion. And again, I don't think Soul is making it to the council as much as I want him to. Unfortunately. Yeah. And I feel so bad for both of the girls. And it's like, I don't know. Like,
It's
I think
a lot to do.
The thing is also, like, I think if there had been some, I don't know, some honesty earlier with Osha in a way that was easier for her to digest, I think this could have gone better too. But it's like, now you've let this go for 16 years. She's in the clutches of this creepy dark side guy who wants to use her for whatever his goal is. And that's, I don't think that's going to go great for poor Oshi.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think it's going to be a longer episode, or do you think they're going to keep it same length?
I mean, like, the episode lengths have been varying quite a bit because we had because I just noticed it. Like, this past one was 45 minutes when we've had others that are 30. So I could see it going a little longer. It's also like, I think we all, and I include myself, I think we all tend to undervalue, that's not the word I'm looking for, underestimate how much a minute is when it comes to TV or film. You know, like, I don't know, think of a movie and how much can happen in a movie, and that's 120 minutes, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even a TV show thing, like, how much happened in this episode, and that was like 40 some minutes, with some, you know, the like recap and the credits and stuff, less than that, you know. I think of how much we learned and how much changed everything, you know what I mean. Like, I think we all underestimate how much can happen in a minute or two when it comes to screen. Like, screen real estate is so valuable because so much can change in just a minute or two. So I'm not, if some people are worried about if things can all wrap up, I think we're going to be, Leslie Headland's always said she's always meant for it to wrap up in one season in a satisfying way, but not closing every single door in case there is a season 2. And I think that's what we'll see for sure. I trust that.
I just want more content. I don't. Yeah, I just like it being long.
That's, you know, very, very valid. Yeah, we got, I think our next thing is Skeleton Crew later this year. We haven't really heard anything about Skeleton Crew officially in a hot minute. But I think that's still on the slate for later this year, which I'm very excited about. The trailer at Celebration was so good. And I'm really excited for that one. And plus the kids, like the cast, were all just adorable kids, which I love. I love adventure. Give me adventure.
Adventure.
And we'll see. I am scared.
I am scared, Zoe. I am scared, Lizzy. Horrified.
Yes. Yeah, thanks to everyone for listening to our thoughts on this
plugs
very complicated episode. Yes, thank you so much. If you want more Star Wars Geek Girl stuff that you can read instead of listen to, you can go to starwarsgeekgirl.com. We also have a Twitter and Instagram at SWGeekGirl, and the Facebook page is Star Wars Geek Girl. If you're just looking for me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok is at Spectre_5, 5 written out, not just the number. And then I'm on Twitter as at Zoika.
got the Rogue Rebels, theroguerebels.com, Instagram and TikTok at the Rogue Rebels, Twitch at Rogue Rebels, podcast wherever you're listening to the Star Wars Geek Girls, Facebook page the Rogue Rebels, and Twitter at Rogue Rebels Fam. I did an animation. I finished
It
it.
is very cute.
And I think I might have posted it a little too early because it's like no one is looking at it, which is fine. But I was like, dang it. I was like,
It's very
maybe I
cute. Go
shouldn't have
to
posted it early in the morning.
it's Rogue Rebels TikTok. Go to Rogue Rebels
Yes.
TikTok for it. It's very cute.
Yippee. But I finished it. So now I could delete it, and that's like 10 gigabytes on my
Alright,
iPad.
everyone. Thanks for listening to us today. Check out all of our things. Oh man, this was a longer episode than our other Acolyte discussions. There's a lot to discuss. I was Zoe.
It was an episode. I am very scared, Lizzy. Very scared but excited, Lizzy.
May the force be with you, and goodbye.